Throwaway time. What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? Before we get onto the stories, I want to say that these stories are not for the faint of heart. Especially towards the end of the video, there are some things that you would rather not have heard. Proceed with caution. Story 1. I once helped out a female friend's family by taking care of their cat for a week. Every day for a week, I would go over there and snoop around their house. I found my friend's diary and proceeded to read the entire thing. I used this information to get her to like me, and she is currently my wife. Story 2. Well, it's more of a secret to my friends that I've made recently. Some background first. I don't like being touched or hugged, and I'm incredibly uncomfortable with intimacy in general. When I was in the 8th grade, a bunch of girls in my class convinced me they had a friend who fancied me. They said she had seen me somewhere and thought I was cute. Faked an MSN account, and they talked to me every night for a few months, invited me out to the movies and obviously didn't show up, then revealed to the whole grade that I had been tricked into having an imaginary girlfriend. I was mocked viciously by everyone in the grade, and ever since then I can't really trust women. I also can't believe that a girl may have feelings for me. Even when they explicitly tell me they have feelings for me, I can't help but feel like they're trying to trick me. It's caused a lot of insecurity and I can't get attached to people easily. I'm terribly afraid to text or message people first because I'm convinced that I would be annoying them. What's worse is that when I think about it, I know it probably isn't true, but I can't help but feel like it is. Even though it was grade 8, it was around the time when attraction to women was just starting to get real. So to be hurt at a time as delicate as that has really done some damage. The secret, of course, is that I'd been dumb enough to be tricked. As you might suspect, the whole thing has left me afraid of being vulnerable. To have this found out by my newer friends, as in university friends, will put me in a really uncomfortable place. I probably wouldn't be able to be their friend anymore. Story 3. My cousin passed away when we were both 17. There was a reception at his house just after the funeral. I went into his room and stole all the money that was there, took some other valuables that his parents wouldn't realize were gone. No one knows that I did it, they just assumed he didn't have any money in his room, only loose change. I don't regret it, but I will never admit I did it. Also, my stinky box. Story 4. I run a cake business. I charge people hundreds for wedding cakes. Every last one is made using Pillsbury cake mix I buy for $1 a box at Walmart. I suck at baking. Every time I've ever tried to make a cake from scratch, it sucked. But baking is like my whole deal. My friends all call me the cake girl. It's like my whole life is a lie. People compliment my cakes all the time, telling me how delicious they are. Telling me it's so much better than box mix cake. Telling me they could never bake a cake so delicious. Well, guess what? For $1, they too can make a cake just as delicious. Just add oil, eggs, and water. In my defense, I love cake decorating. I make all of the frostings and fondant from scratch. I just hate baking cakes. I base my prices mostly on the decoration of the cakes and not of the cake itself, if that makes sense. Still, no one knows about this except my husband. Even my best friends think I slave over the oven mixing and baking these cakes. I've been doing this for years. If anyone knew, my business and reputation would be in the toilet for sure. I keep telling myself I have to learn how to make the cakes without the box mixes, but I never do it. I feel like such a sham sometimes. Story 6. 2.5 years ago, I was in dire financial straits, so I sold my home to keep my struggling business afloat. I neglected to tell the owners that they have an 800 square feet bunker on the property that I built about 7 years ago. The bunker that I've called home since I sold it. The entrance to it is well hidden, but I still come and go very early/very late in the day. I'm a single man who keeps himself. I'm now in a situation where I could move somewhere else, but I love this hidden paradise so much. Story 7. This is my old account, so might as well throw it away. While on deployment, I ended a man in a coup de grace. The feelings of taking a man's life always weigh a heavy burden on me every day. No one likes hurting people. He'd been hit by some of our mobile artillery. While part of me wanted the bastard to be in pain, it wasn't right. My medic was busy with my wounded, and as the officer on duty, I took out my .45 and put one in his head. I knew my boys wouldn't say anything. Most just watched, accepted it as a fact of war, and kept walking. I remember throwing up afterwards. I came home and everyone acted like I was a hero. I never felt like more of a sham in my entire life. Story 8. First time telling anyone this. This thread is so deep that probably no one will see, but if one person does see it, I'll feel better. I am basically living a lie. I told my entire family I was able to transfer out of community college and go into university, but I never finished up the requirements. So since I live at home, every day instead of going to school, I go to the local library and BS. My lies are so extensive, I even go to the campus and meet my girlfriend for lunch sometimes. I've made fake transcripts to show my family, and to make it look like I'm actually studying, I go to MIT OpenCourseWare to look up facts that I learned in class that day. I've become a remarkable liar. I hope to be transferring in the fall, and then I look forward to living a normal life. Coming clean is not an option at this point. Story 9. This isn't necessarily something that could ruin my life, but it could ruin many others. I haven't told anyone before. My father recently went to prison for white-collar crime that he pled guilty to. He didn't commit this crime, but the alternative was fighting a highly sensationalized, media-obsessed scapegoat case and potentially getting 20 plus years. While he was in prison, I read his little blue book, which I knew contained all the missteps of everyone he's worked with. He's always been an extremely scrupulous man, so these offenses were something he took seriously enough to note. I have information on countless state employees, incredibly prominent and wealthy community members, numerous elected city/state officials, and police officers. This information could ruin lives and start political controversy. My father is an incredible man and is not vengeful whatsoever. He will never use any of this info against these people, despite the fact that most completely turned on him and stayed uninvolved at all costs or started pointing fingers. When I picture my aging father sitting in a maximum security jail cell sleeping on a metal sheet without a mattress, he wasn't given one until his 5th night. I am filled with rage for these people who could have stood up for their friend and prevented this, while he still continues to be loyal. Still haven't decided which campaigns, if any, I'm gonna ruin in the upcoming elections. Story 10. When I was 15, my parents were going through a divorce. My mom worked night shifts and my dad was living with a friend of his. One night, my sister, who was 19 at the time, came home pretty drunk from a party. She was acting goofy and fell on the couch next to me. She started grabbing my leg and laughing and we started fondling. We ended up doing it. When we woke up the next day, she had no recollection of the night before, so I just kept my mouth shut. Fast forward to when I'm 18. Sister is home from college and dad is over for a visit. They get into an argument and in a fit of rage, my dad announces how he has never forgiven her for the abortion she got when she was 19 and subsequently ending his grandchild. He's very religious. I then realized the baby she aborted was in fact mine, and as far as I know, I am the only one who knows since she has never mentioned that night. Story 11. Not life ruining, but makes me feel like crap every time I think about it. I have a blind brother. When we were young, I used to get so frustrated at all the extra attention he received and how I had to be more responsible with my sibling than my peers. So when my brother and I would go play, go to the store, or just generally go anywhere without adults, I would abandon him somewhere unfamiliar to him. Then I would stand off quietly and watch the anxiety set in as he tried to figure out where he was and what was going on. Also, I was really intelligent as a child and knew that was my ticket to attention. When I would help my brother with his homework, I would teach him all the wrong answers, so that I could continue being the smarter sibling. Today, my brother is my best friend. He goes to college and lives by himself. He's become one of the most intelligent men I've ever met. I'm trying to make it up to him now by being the best sister ever, but I still feel so guilty at how I found him to be a burden when I was a kid. Story 12. I accidentally ended 7 people. I put a rag into a new water heater exhaust to keep debris out and installed it in a rental. I get a call a week later. There's been an accident. I show up and there's a ton of EMTs and police. They ask me where the gas shutoff is, and I go down to shut the gas off and see the end of the rag I forgot sticking out the top of the heater. Rip the rag out, shut the gas off, and head upstairs, only be told all the tenants were passed. I drink all day now and sleep. It's ending me from the inside every single day. But if I say anything, my family is ruined. We have a bunch of rental properties and we'd be shut down. Story 13. I faked having a chronic pain condition for 5.5 years in order to not have to attend middle school and high school. I was placed on a homebound program, not homeschooling, and allowed to study at my own pace from home. I was able to fool a team of medical professionals, my family, my teachers, and my friends into believing that my symptoms were real. Also, I racked up over $100,000 in medical bills for my family. That's just what the insurance didn't cover during those 5.5 years. I did not realize the extent of the medical bills until late into my lie, and it was one of the main reasons I decided enough was enough. Upon graduating from high school and getting accepted into a good university, I decided that it was time for my pain to go away. No one has questioned the fact that my symptoms vanished overnight. My medical team attributed it to the fact that I was nearing the end of puberty. What I did was a douchebag thing, and my family is continuing to drown in debt from medical bills. I plan to pay them back someday. I simply started the hoax because I was a 12-year-old who absolutely loathed middle school. I attempted to end the lie at the beginning of every school year, but eventually fell back into saying my pain prevented me from attending school. Today I feel horrible about what I did, and I desperately want to tell everyone that it was a lie, but I know that I cannot because I will never gain credibility back again. This occurred over a decade ago. I have since graduated from undergrad and law school. I'm currently an associate at a large law firm, and I'm in a position to pay my parents back. I've tried many times to pay my parents back the $50,000 they've already paid off. I've also tried to get them to let me assume the remaining $50,000 in medical bills. They refuse to let me. My hope is that they will allow me to help them with their retirement. I think some ground is being made in those negotiations. I do not intend to stiff my parents. I truly do plan on repaying them some way. Story 14. When I was younger, I would lie about anything and everything. Like having more brothers and sisters than I did, where I grew up, where I was born, and I would make up lies about random things that didn't even matter. I have no idea why I did it, but some of the lies have kept going, and still maintaining random lies I've told forever. Story 15. Me and my cousin have been doing it for 10 years now. It started when she was 12 and I was 13. We had to babysit the younger kids in our family while the parents went to a party, and when they fell asleep, me and her got to talking about a lot of stuff. You know, eventually where it led. I'm 23 with my own apartment now, and she comes over almost every day. Also, we are first cousins. Story 16. When I was around 10 or 11 years old, one of the maid's daughters, who was probably 13 or 14 at the time, had a pretty weird relationship with me. We both mutually liked each other, but the relationship just couldn't happen because my mother strictly forbid me to associate myself with any of the attendants or their family. We did some mild petting, I guess. I don't recall any sort of intercourse. Don't even think I was even old enough for that. We had a bunch of dogs in the back area, mainly German Shepherd mutts. I personally love dogs and all sorts of animals, so I frequently spent my time in the back lot with the dogs. I watched the dogs mount each other and was interested in what they were doing. I even once saw one of the dogs lick its own thing and it would grow after a certain amount of licking. Yeah, it was kinda gross, but I was interested. I went over to feed the dog, and she was in the back lot helping her mom hang some clothes. I told her about my pretty messed up idea. I wanted her to get mounted by one of the bigger dogs, and she agreed to it. We waited a couple of days when absolutely no one was home. She stripped down and walked over to one of the bigger dogs and kneeled down on all fours in front of the dog. The dog started sniffing her for a few seconds, and she got up and ran. The dog then chased after her and jumped on her back. She didn't fully fall face first as she went down on all four again. Then the dog went on. These stories are just hard to read. Story 17. I came very, very close to committing a school shooting. I was picked on a lot in high school. I think it was because I tried so hard to be cool and everyone saw right through it. There were these 4 cowboy jock types that gave it to me the worst. After being publicly humiliated and beaten in front of a girl that I liked, as she laughed/cheered, I decided that none of it was worth it anymore. I had no support at home, being an only child and having parents that worked constantly, and cutting and burning myself didn't make me feel better anymore. So I got my dad's handgun out of the gun safe and brought it to school with me the next day. I can't describe it to you guys how ready I was to kill these 4. I had absolutely no fear or doubt in my mind. I wanted nothing more than to show everyone what happens when you push someone over the edge like they did. I had the gun tucked into my waistline. I was wearing this baggy pair of cargo shorts that I wore a couple of times a week that day. I remember walking towards the cowboy's table, so goddamn ready for it to be over, when the gun fell out of my waistline, down my left short leg, and made the loudest sound as it hit the cafeteria floor. I tried my best to grab the gun real quick, but people saw what it was and screamed, and one of the instructors tackled me to the ground. They eventually concluded that I brought the gun to school to impress people with badassery and had no intention of using it. I was expelled and sent to live at a youth ranch until I was 18. I did have the intention of using it though. I was going to end all of them. I'm 24 now, and I still think about it all the time. I've not recovered from high school. I'm still terrified of people in general, and avoid having relationships because of what I fear I'm capable of. I'm not looking for pity. I know what I did was wrong. It just feels good to tell this story. Story 18. May not ruin my life, but would really prefer if it didn't get out. 26-year-old male, and I have visited 30 plus escorts over a 4-year period. This includes girls in the Amsterdam red light district to girls in Asian massage parlors. First time was about 6 months after breaking up with my first girlfriend. To be honest, I stopped counting how many times I've actually paid a visit to one of these girls. Was never very confident with girls growing up, so this was much easier than actually having to put myself out there. I guess I'm actually fairly good looking and have much more confidence now. It's only in the last couple of years that I've come to realize how easy it is to attract girls, and sadly recall how much time and money I've wasted on these escorts. Been almost a year since I last made the visit. Well, these stories were hard to read, but thank you so much for watching. If you have stories of your own, feel free to write them below in the comments so I can make a video on them in the future. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one.